Hi friends, welcome. We are in Lightroom today. I am taking you guys on a little bit of an editing session with me. I haven't done this in quite some time. We're breaking old ground, ripping off an old scab, I guess. So these are photos that I took at a train station recently, and they're certainly not the best, most exciting photos I've ever taken, but they are a couple of photos that I need to work through. I think I got some keepers out of this bunch, and I will be sharing them on my Instagram soon. Well, at least one of them on my Instagram soon. And I've already gone through this batch of photos recently to put them in a video that goes up on me and my wife's vlog channel. But I edited them a bit of a different way than I would for my Instagram page, so we're re-editing them today. Now, I will be using my presets because that is what I do when I'm sharing a photo to Instagram to keep cohesion in my look. I have a very specific look I like to go after. So we will be starting with that, but there is a lot of work to be done. But I have my coffee, my iced coffee. It's a full cup, which is important. It's a big deal. Now, I did get the groundy part. Let's get started as we do this. I did get the groundy part at the end of the coffee. See, I make my iced coffees with a French press, and at the end you'll get some mushy grounds at the bottom, which sounds horrible if you don't like coffee, but potentially unpleasing if you do like coffee. Now, I can put up with a lot of groundiness, and I certainly don't mind it. And you can just cut it with water a little bit more, and you're in good shape. But I have that. I have my water, since you're supposed to drink something like 1,000 gallons of water every 10 minutes to keep your body functioning, prevent heart disease, all that good stuff. So I'm cropping it right now to try to see if I can find a good spot. I know I want it to be 8x10. I tend to do a lot of 8x10 work, but the train feels a little oddly centered, so I'm working with that variable. Before I get started with colors, I'm going to make sure I get my crop feeling quite right. I don't like this edge right here with this fence post poking in. I pay very close attention to my edges when I edit. Let's see here. Okay, that's looking like I want it to. So I'm going to go to Faded 1, which is the preset I use for my Instagram photos. And hopefully the screen recording doesn't slow this process down too terribly much. I'll try to avoid actions which dramatically slow it down. Let's see here. Okay. So I'm thinking at first I want to put on some contrast after what I just did there, which was taking the tint, pulling it down, giving it a bit more of a green tint. I like to do that to all of my photos to some extent. Like that. I like keeping it pretty cool, potentially, especially since it's cold outside as well. And so I pulled up the contrast a little bit. I'm going to move down. We're not going to do too much curves work. One thing I have forgotten to do, though. No, just kidding. It's there. How did that happen? Did I do that a second ago? Well, I'm glad it happened. Okay, so yeah, what I was speaking to was lens corrections, turning on profile corrections to get rid of any sort of vignetting and darkening that the lens may add to the image. This one's looking pretty good right off the bat, but we're going to see if we can just get some nice tonal interest happening in the photo. Should I push it more green? I actually really do like that. So what I'll do with these edits, what I'll do with these edits is they will normally grow off of one another in a sense, meaning that I will find a nice look for one photo in a given situation, then copy that look over to the next one and then tweak as necessary. Now, I like to make my blue tones, I like to change the hue over to where they are a bit more teal, as you can see right there, and the blues in this area. I'm going to pull up on that to make that blue pop out just a hair more, not too much, but getting that blue looking really pleasing is very important to me. Now, getting the red to look pretty pleasing is important to me as well. These are two very vibrant colors in this image and in a lot of images. But I do most of the work on the red and the luminance and saturation in the individual color channels. Just pushing that up a little bit. Nice and bright, like, so it sort of matches the luminance of the other color to some extent. This looks pretty nice. Feeling good about this. We could do some fun stuff like pushing up on maybe the aqua. I think that'll control the window a bit. That's kind of interesting, right? Makes it a little bit more prominent. Do we want some more contrast though? 50 or 45? 45's fine. Okay, I think we're all set on this one. And so like I said, I've already selected the photos that I want to be working through. I'm going to overwrite since I already have a copy. Or I'm sorry, unique names, since I already have a copy of this photo out there in the ether. So yeah, I've already picked and selected them to be the color yellow by using the number 7 on my keyboard, if you didn't know that. That's how you can make your I don't think that was a custom key command I set up. So, but we're going to copy this, Shift Command C, copy this look so that I can move it on to the next photo. I was considering editing this one where the train's a bit closer, but aesthetically it's just not working for me. So we're going to move on to the next one. Okay, this is a solid one. We're going to work on this one a little bit. Get it feeling quite right. Lots of foreground elements and geometry, lots of depth going on here. I really enjoy the way this one worked. But we have a lot of edge elements to work with, so this will be a fun dilemma to solve. We're going to once again go 8x10 on this one. I think we're going to go that direction with most of them. We're going to copy the look over. Now it's very dark, very cool. It was a cold day that day, so I'm perfectly fine. A lot of times my edits will sort of coordinate with the weather that day. Let's see, it wouldn't feel right to make it feel sunny and warm, you know? Mood. Okay, I'm going to move this over. I like how this pole's coming in on the left-hand corner. I don't mind that at all. Gives some depth, but I might have to get rid of it, considering the other side of the photo is not feeling too right. I'm looking at these pipes at the bottom right-hand side of the photo, sort of coming in. Where do I want them to be in the frame, and where do I want the train to be in the frame? All of these variables. I may have to actually crop in on this one. We're going to see how it goes, though. But the first step is always to believe, you know? This one's already looking pretty good in terms of tones. Like, this is why this method is a pretty solid method, because you get yourself 2/3 of the way there pretty easily when you just copy the look over from the other one, assuming that the situation is relatively similar. I think I need to do too much to this one. I like that you can see the conductor, the train pilot, if you will. There, we have the hue pushed over pretty far for the blue already, so that's going to be fine. I'm not going to push that over too much further, although I could. Whatever makes your heart flutter, you know, as the youth say. Okay, I'm going to push the saturation down on the red just a hair. There are a couple of things that I do not mess with when I am using my presets, for the most part. Sometimes I do, but rarely. I rarely find myself touching these things. Curves, because the curves are sort of the heavy lifting for my presets. I don't tweak, for this one in particular, I'm not tweaking any of these almost at all. I've actually added a little bit of green, but you see that most of it is hanging out right here, and then I'm just sort of doing all of these corrective measures up here and tonal measures and the white balance and in the individual color channels. But the saturation almost never moves. This is a really sweet spot for how I like my saturation to be, -27. Now you will get a fundamentally different look if you do not desaturate from the saturation slider and desaturate from all these individual color sliders. That's a fun little thing to play with. But I think this one's right about where we want it. Maybe play with some highlights, just fiddling, just seeing if I like what the tones do. I actually do like how it punches up those whites a little bit. You can see I'm crushing the highlights here, which gives it this nice milky look. I actually used to have a preset called Milky, and that was part of the reason. Okay, this one, you know what? I don't think there's anything else I need to do to this one. Let me check the edges one more time. I want to make sure I didn't get too crazy here, move too quickly. looks good, right? So nothing's, you know, things are poking in, but they're poking in intentionally feeling, right? Nothing's, I was worried about this side over here. There's like some little spots where things could be broken up in less than pleasing ways. Looks fine. The pipe here is fine. You know, I would have a problem with the pipes being maybe like that. Not too bad, but like, you know, something odd. Maybe like a, what's the weirdest way that this could be done? So that sort of number, and you got this over here, this little edge, the little space between the edge and the little utility box or whatever that is. That's not what we want. So put it back where it is. Export this one. This one is ready for Instagram, assuming I don't bring it back in later. I don't come back later to correct a mistake that I find when I go to post it, which is what always happens. Use unique names. Moving on to the next yellow photo. This one is very similar to the last one. Do I want to edit this one? These are the questions. She's closer. You know what? We might just actually copy over the same look and see if we can get, see if we have to tweak anything really at all. So we're going to copy this one. Happy times. Very dark. One reason is because the profile corrections are off right now. Brightens up the edges quite a bit. And you see remove some distortion in that lens. I have a older Sigma zoom lens that I shoot with much of the time at this point in my photographic journey. I really enjoy that lens. Very nice, sharp, beautiful lens. Reliable. Loyal. Faithful. Meaningful. Let's see. Like a good mother, you know? That's the kind of lens you want. So let's get this crop just right. Move over. The pipe's having a problem here because you see this little notch on the pipes, kind of just half of the notch was in the frame. Didn't quite work. Now we're having a problem with this little cord coming in over here. No, says I. Maybe I push it way over this way, center up the train a little bit more. That fence post. Lots of things going on, you know. Cropping is a very precise but fun, creative activity for me. Making the edges feel just right, just be so pleasing. Lives changed. Whoa. People eradicated from poverty. That's what I want my crops to do. I don't know what just happened there. You know what? We might have to settle a little bit. Let's see what's happening. Move that over. This one's making my head hurt a little bit, guys. I'm mostly, like I said, I'm focused over here. I'm just trying to get this to feel the way I want. I think that's okay for now. I don't know. Can I move it over a little bit? Get away with it? I cropped it in, so maybe I can just get the pipes out of the way altogether, but then I have that fence post to deal with up there. Problematic. I really like this thing coming in on the side right here, but it's compositionally overall it doesn't peacefully work together with everything else that's going on in the image. No, I don't like that. I'm going to have to work that pipe in, I think, a little bit. You have to choose which side of things you need to be on, right? This fence post is really dictating what I'm up to because I don't want it to kind of just pop in like that. I need some space. So I'm going to have to let some of that pipe in. Okay, that's... Oh, man. Maybe I can crop in a little bit more. Tough. That's kind of interesting. That kind of works out. That little, got just the edge of the box there. That's not too bad. Everything else looks, it's very easy to get caught up on one particular detail and you'll miss the other details flying around. Like this one. Ah, we have a culprit. You see this little bit of the sign poking in. No, no, no. Not if I have anything to say about it. But then we got this side. All right, so I'm going to crop this in a little bit more. That's what we're going to do. Then we should be in good shape. I think, okay, that should be fine. We're gonna leave that there. I'm not gonna spend all day on that. This one's looking pretty good right off the beginning here in terms of color tones. I think we're gonna go ahead and export that one. It's looking like I want it. I really like the interesting brownish tones in the shadows here. Very gritty feeling. I don't think I exported this one before, so I think I skipped over this one last time. Moving on, closer. This one's really nice. A lot of times you'll find that the version of the photo where the subject is closer is the one that you want to share. It's much more intimate, much more interactive for the mind. Pull this up a little bit there. This one's already looking quite right. Now I do want to see if I can get her to pop a little bit more inside there, inside that cabin. Staring straight at me with her sunglasses, I think. Okay, so get the blues feeling just right. It's pretty good. Nothing too crazy. And get that windshield to pop. It's you know, it would be nice if the glare wasn't quite so pronounced on that windshield. You'd be able to see her more, but that's okay. No biggie. Okay, 8x10. Gonna move this over. I think I may have to leave it 3x2. I may not have the necessary room to make it feel the way I need it to. Should I turn... Sometimes it's a good idea to turn the distortion off, and I think this time is one of those times. Or actually, I'm sorry, the distortion correction, turn it back on, right? So sometimes when you turn... sometimes you can... A lot of times for me... Let me drink some coffee. A lot of times for me, what I find is that I actually like to turn the distortion correction off. It just feels better. It feels better overall to me. But sometimes you can get these really bendy lines, which is what the distortion correction is kind of for, and you want to get rid of those. And this is the case in which I would like to do that. So that's going to happen, and then we're going to figure out how we want to crop this thing. But I think we're going to have to go back to our faithful firstborn cropping ratio of the photo, 3x2. Because I don't know if we have the necessary room to crop this to 8x10, which would be what I would initially go after. Just gotta feel it out. Every now and then I find a good 16:9 photo. I certainly don't mind a good 16:9. But I like how close the train is to the bottom of the frame here, how it's sort of balanced throughout the frame. It's not necessarily about perfection so much. This editing session should be called James Crops 1000 Photos. Because I think that's most of what I've been doing. But it's not necessarily about perfection so much, although there's some inherent perfection that is probably happening subconsciously as I'm making these movements in terms of cropping and putting things where I need them in the frame, and specifically putting the subject in the center of the frame here. But it's not always particularly perfect, I think, right? So sometimes the train needs to go a little lower to the bottom than to the center of the frame. And sometimes you have to work with other elements as well, like these little, whatever you would call these little sticks poking out, metal sticks poking out at the top here. I'm also looking at the bottom of the train, the train track, to just the geometry and how it interacts with each other, how things are coming together, this sort of thing. And I think that this is about the cropping we're looking for. Everything feels good. Once again, I think the colors feel quite right on this one. I do not think we're going to need to do much of anything. I would love to get her to pop out a little bit more. I'm sure there's some sort of localized way I could maybe try to go about that, but I'm not. This feels pretty good. Maybe the green. Aha! The green! The green! We found it, guys. 100 all the way up with the green. Make sure our skin tones don't look funny. Very good. That looks quite nice. Now, what I'm concerned about is that this photo has become too bright overall. Sometimes I'll send them to my phone and realize, oh, there's no shadows in that photo. it doesn't have a foundation of solid darkness, if you will. So, and I like my shadows to be nice and strong, but in this case, I think we're kind of in the right ballpark. It's also relative, right? So, oh my gosh, thank you. I was aware of what reference view was Lightroom, but it's always nice to be sure, I guess. Oh, what's happening? Y and Y, that's what I want to do. There we go. Let's see. Oops. That feels good. The shadows are nice and dark. I normally don't have this, I guess you would call it the film strip down, but I have it down today so that you guys can see what my edits are doing. See the photo a lot bigger. But it's very annoying. I hate things where you bump into them like this. My wife has hot corners on her computer. If you don't know what hot corners are, they're this gloriously annoying invention of Apple where you can send your mouse up to the top corner of the screen or the bottom corner of the screen, and your computer will do something. It will perform some sort of action. Whenever I don't have any hot corners except for, I think, my screensaver one, which I won't bump into, which is the bottom right. I will not bump into it because I don't know what will happen to the screen recording. But yeah, she has her hot corners, and I will bump into them whenever I use her computer and whenever I'm trying to do anything. And I have to go to every time I use her computer afterwards, I have to go to some sort of rehabilitation center just to resort my brain out because it is so frustrating. It makes me want to punch a horse. And luckily, I don't have many horses around me at any given time. But this is why I can't live on a horse farm. Just want to punch them. You know, like in the glute, like that meaty section. Oh, man. All right, so this one's good. Did I export this one? I don't think I did. I'm going to export it. We're going to use unique names. So easy to use overwrite. That's the button I normally use. That's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna move over to the next photo. We're starting to get into some vertical photos here today, or now, at this portion of today. And I'm going to choose which one I want to work on. That one's pretty close, and it's got a really dramatic feel to it because of the closeness. It's also crooked, as I'm sure you can tell. Do I want to get the further away one? Is there something about this one that works better? Do I want both? This one compositionally is overall a more sound photo. It feels more aesthetically pleasing and engaging for the mind, but this one, that's way more dramatic. Okay, we're just gonna do them both. Because I want to get both of these out there. Because I can always post another one later. So we're going to copy and paste, or we're going to paste these edits over to this one. And I'm going to enable profile corrections. This case, I will turn distortion control on. We're going to leave that on. I'm going to make it a wee brighter. Just a wee. A strong wee, if you will. Very, I can't think of another word for strong that would be the level of we that I would like it to be. Sorry guys, I failed you. We're going to go to 8x10 for this one, and this one's a bit more of a necessity because Instagram will not allow you to share a vertical photo taller than 8x10, which is frustrating. I kind of get it. I think it's a overall feed management sort of measure, but man, you can't share your 3x2 photos, which is what most cameras are nowadays. Well, the iPhone's 4x3, but most I guess we could call it professional cameras would be a 3x2 ratio. However, mirrorless cameras are also 4x3. I'm sorry, not mirrorless. Mirrorless Micro Four Thirds. There we are. Micro Four Thirds cameras are also 4x3. And we're gonna export both of these because they're both quite nice. But that next one I'm excited to work on because it's got a intense drama to it. I think on one of these photos near the beginning, a train honked at me because I was too close to the edge. Be very careful when taking photos of trains. You're limiting your field of vision, and you don't want your leg to be ripped off while taking a photo. Unless you have a wide lens and you can capture that moment. Okay, that one feels pretty good. I'm going to push up on the green here so that hopefully we can get this. Yeah, we can get that the conductor, the train captain, pilot, engineer to punch through much more prominently. What if we mess with the hue just for fun? What does that do? Push it way this way? Ooh, it's blue. Do we want to do that? Nah. No, we're not going to get that fancy. It's nice. I do like it, but we're not going to get that fancy today. We're going to leave it true. We're going to let people experience the true colors that of the, and that's why I love you. Cyndi Lauper? I think it's Cyndi Lauper. Push up on the blue a little bit here. Push up on the red a little bit, brighten that up. Nice tones. I mean, the lighting was actually really nice that day. I always loved the headlights on these trains. They have such a wonderful, pleasing feel to them. It makes me wish that I lived back in, maybe the 40s where the trains were much less futuristic looking. I don't know. If someone from the 1940s saw this train today, they would probably run around and their brain would come out of their ears. They would start throwing chairs at people, thinking it's the aliens. The robots have come. They're going to throw away their microwave because they think the end is near. It's going to start controlling their brain. That'll never happen. Should I brighten those headlights up a little bit? Maybe? Lots of individual color channel manipulation, as you can see. I think I'm going to leave it where it is, though. I really do like it. One thing that can happen if you get too crazy with your edits, you do have to be somewhat conservative. You don't have to, but it's a good idea to be somewhat conservative because you will undo your look in a sense if you're not careful. You'll start to create problems as you solve other problems. So you have to sort of be aware of what you're up to with that. Like, for example, I pushed up the highlights on the previous couple of photos because I wanted to punch up the highlights a little bit, obviously. And now I'm seeing that it would be a good idea maybe to bring these back down to 0. I really like the way it looks. Both look quite nice, but I actually like the crushedness of the highlights, pulling them back. So I'm going to do that here. But you'll see, what I'm saying is that you will do that and then move it on to other photos, and you'll miss other opportunities, and you'll start to destroy the integrity of your preset because you're making all of these different manipulations. And then sometimes I'll find myself hitting the preset again, resetting it and going, not in this case, but resetting it and going, oh, that looks way better. I only have to fix a couple more problems to get where I need to, as opposed to where I was, which was I kind of dug myself into a hole of frustration and confusion with the look. I think this one's looking the way we want it. I'm going to push down. No, I'm not. I like that. More contrast, potentially. Exposure down. No. 0? Sometimes I just start typing in numbers and seeing how it feels. I like that. Let's not get too fancy. There's a point where you like it, and then you just try to think about what other interesting things you can do to it. That's a good spot to be, because at the very least you can sort of make a resolution to say it looks excellent, but I'm trying to find another version of excellent to find, right? And but the good thing is that you're already at excellent. Okay, this one feels good. I'm gonna see if there's anything I can do to this man inside the cabin. I don't think there's anything else I need or want to do. I do like how he could be brighter. Let me try brush. Let's do this together, guys. Just try brush here. See if I can punch him up a little bit. Nah, I don't like it. We're going to leave it like it is. This is good. You can see him. Maybe I can punch up or bring up the blacks a little bit. No, I'm gonna leave it where it is. This looks quite nice. All these sliders all the way up. Perfect. All right. Use unique names. Moving on. We're gonna copy this look over to the next one because it obviously worked well for this one. I can imagine that it shall carry over to the next one faithfully, like a mother. Like when you carry over from one of your mothers to the other. That analogy breaks down, I think. I think if that was subjected to scrutiny, it would not hold up. So I'm going to crop in on this side. Well, first off, I'm going to bring it into 8x10. Yeah, this is a pretty solid photo. This was one of the situations where I didn't know if I was going to get anything good. I didn't know if I got anything good. Because there's certain milestones you try to hit when you're out taking photos, and there are times where you're sort of shifting up the type of photo that you're taking so much that those milestones aren't being hit in the way that you're used to. So you feel as if maybe it was a very unproductive photo walk. For example, I mean, I didn't realize when I was there that I actually captured any people in my photos prominently, but the conductor train pilot, Captain Admiral of this train is very present in this photo. He becomes the subject in a sense. Feels good. Sir, could you turn on your light inside your cabin for me? I'd like to see your face a little bit more. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Let's undo that. I'm paying attention to this pole over here. That feels okay because I don't think it's coming in just a hair, so we're going to move that over just a little bit. I like having the pole. I don't like having the space beyond the pole. That looks good. Okay, so I'm going to change the angle a little bit, straighten it out just a tiny bit more, I think. I don't know, do I like it better that way? I kind of like it better that way, actually. So we're going to leave that there. Paying attention to these top bits, all these different geometrical elements flying around, making sure they feel the way I want to. Now I'm paying attention to the bottom by the track. I was enjoying putting these little rectangles right at the bottom there. Brakes. What are those? Any train fanatics out there? People. Photography and train enjoyment. It tends to fall hand in hand. No, that's too close. I'm going to move it down a little bit. That feels pretty all right. Okay, this one is edges. All set. We're good. Very nice. Next. Let's see. I was working on this guy. I want to work on, you know what? I think we're going to skip over. We're going to skip over the fellow here. No, let's do that one really quick. This one might need a little bit of work though, so if you guys will just send your positive energies my way, negative if it looks horrible. And I'll send my negative energies your way as well. So I'm going to crop this one, I think 8x10, maybe? Or do I want it to be 3x2? This one's an interesting one. This one's a little bit difficult because it's not a perfect photo. There are a lot of things that aren't quite right about it. I think if I was a lot closer to him, it would have really went well. I think I was on the other side of the train platform though. But you see some bowing lines here, so I'm gonna bring the distortion back to 100 so that those lines can be straight. And then I'm gonna crop in a little bit more, I think, watching this trash can on the left hand side. No. right there. I want to clear the trash can a little bit, but I kind of also want to crop in to just touch it as an option as well. Let's try to think of how we can get creative here to make it work. This is one of those photos where you're spending a lot of time sort of solving some issues with the photo to make it work out. And you can make these photos work. It's not that you should abandon photos that aren't perfect from the beginning. It's that you need to understand what can make a photo not come out in the end and meet your vision, and what has the potential to do so. This one's being a little bit stubborn though, and I'm not enjoying it, to be honest. Cropping. I'm just getting closer and closer. In 10 minutes, we're just gonna be like right there. Yeah. All right. Export. Okay, we're gonna bring it back out. Let's start over. Woohoo! I think I'm gonna stick with the 3x2. Should I pull it on this pole here? No. I like having a little bit of space between the trash can. This little receptacle thing right here is not being helpful. It's kind of too far over, so I'm gonna have to work that in to some extent. Okay, that's kind of working. That's not bad. Whew, coffee. Sweet nectar of happiness. 50. Okay, not there. I'm going to keep that at 45. It doesn't really make the photo feel dramatically better. A lot of times I'll just go back to where I was. Try to make my actions pretty intentional. I'm going to bring this up to 0. I'm focusing on his skin tones a bit now. I'm going to bring the luminance up, so that punch him up a little bit. Then I kind of like bringing the blue down, maybe. But as it comes down, it also feels a bit more saturated, which is not what I want. Way too much. I want all the tones to feel very subdued and managed and subtle. Nothing dramatic. It's basically just not the complete opposite. Well, so the dramatic extreme of that spectrum would be horrible HDR, I suppose. But I want to move away from that. I want there to be a nice tonal balance. There have been wonderfully balanced HDRs too. The HDR is not a bad technique. For a while, people were doing it all the time, and there was sort of a hatred for them. It is bad HDRs that should be rid of, that people should actually be murdered for their use of it. We have freedom of speech in the Constitution of America, but we do not have freedom of HDR. So as far as I'm concerned, we're going to get rid of the bad HDR users to make the world a better and more or less oppressive place. I think I'm gonna do that. This one's weird to me. This one's a really strange photo. It is not cooperating with me. I may have to come back to it at a later date. I don't want to give up on it, you know? That's feeling all right. Sometimes things that normally don't work. So you always have to be willing to poke around with almost everything. I do think, one of the things I did for the other photos, I was trying to make that window pop in the train emperor's cabin. I was trying to make the window pop, and I brought the green way up. So I'm going to bring that back down in this case so that he can be a little bit more pronounced in contrast against that. Shadows, no. Right, this one's feeling all right. Not a whole lot of light. It's just the light dynamics just kind of working against me a little bit. But we're going to settle with that one for now. Move on to the next one. This one is my favorite photo of the entire bunch. I think it's the last one I picked out. Correct. Okay. So we're going to copy this one over. This will be the last photo of the day. It's good, guys. We've made some progress. If you made it here, thank you. I appreciate it. Let's see if the distortion makes it. Okay, so the distortion control makes this one better. I love this one. There's a lot of interesting dynamic things going on here that makes it a pleasing photo. There's a lot of depth, lots of interesting geometry flying around that in a way that doesn't feel too complex and overboard. It feels organized. And I think that's because the things that need to be pronounced in the photo are pronounced. Namely the train, but also these two people in the front in the shadow that just kind of show themselves in the photo in a way that gives some humanity. I enjoy that. And this one's almost where I want it to be. Just going to play with some exposure and probably about 25 other things, and then we'll be ready. This one's looking good. I'm going to pull back that green. No, that green's already up because I was copying from an earlier photo. Yeah, I copy strategically. I don't just copy every look to every next photo. Pull that red down a little bit. It's a little bit vibrant for my liking. I've done some dramatic stuff to these individual color sliders, I'd say. But a lot of it is just figuring out where your problems tend to come from and starting to replicate that behavior over and over. You'll start to see, oh, the reason why that's happening is because of slider 25. Push slider 25 back, and then you've solved one problem. Don't want to pull that. That's kind of interesting. One good thing about pulling these whites and highlight sliders down is it can provide a bit more of a filmic look for the photo, crushing the highlights in a pleasing manner, making them feel a bit more, like I said, milky. But I think this one is actually going to stay up further from where it was at -30. I'm going to put it -10 here. Good. What does this need? More green? You can always add more green. That is not true. Here's too much. Oh my gosh. Here is what we would call too much green. Bit too much green. There's a balance, but for me, man, one of my favorite things to do in my photos is just to inject a little bit of green into them. I don't like overly pink photos. Gives it a nice filmic quality. Nice subtle filmic quality. Nothing dramatic. We're not sort of pulling this number where we take the blue channel and pull it down and to bring this all the way down here. And oh yeah, 1960s. This is feeling pretty good. After I did that though, it kind of screwed up my eyes and now I don't like it as much. But when you compare it to that, it looks quite nice. And this is the weird thing, is it's all relative. So you kind of have to settle with some things when you think about that. I mean, every screen's going to be different. Every way of presenting your photo is going to be different. If you printed this photo out, it would look dramatically different than it does here. I certainly haven't bought one of those crazy color grading or screen calibrating spider suction cup things that you put on your screen, because I learned to let go of that. I learned to not care too much about that stuff. It has its place, but it's not necessary. Not necessarily necessary. Now you notice I haven't played with any of the split toning in this video. I will in certain occasions, but like I said, I try to keep my look pretty in line with a curated look that will go out to my Instagram feed, so that things feel organized and cohesive. And one of the things I've decided not to do is to do a lot of split toning and changing up the tones of the shadow. Now, what I will do is, on a particularly cold photo, I will do this number, where I'll push up the reds, I'll push up the, let me try that again. Coffee. I'll push the hue slider over to red and then push up the saturation so that the shadows have this nice red tint to them. It contrasts against the overall coolness of the image in a very pleasing fashion. But this one's like almost there, but I can't quite figure out what it is that's bothering me about it. Does it need to be darker, maybe? A tad darker and then punch up the highlights? No. That's not what I want. Come on. Let's get it. Let's figure this out. It looks quite nice. Oh man, this is hard. See, it's in a place of excellence. I really do like it. But can I take it to another place of excellence? What happens when I push the blue further over? I think this one's going to have to be what it is. I think we're in a good spot with it. Certainly looks fantastic. I'm just focusing on these yellows on the bottom. I haven't tried to crop it yet. I'm going to take a look at that in a second. I think I could probably do some work over here by these flags. Push up the yellows again. That's fine. Saturation. What is it? What's bothering me about this? Just feels like it's not quite, it doesn't have something it needs. It's almost there. Push the blacks down. That is really nice. I don't mind it, but I think we're gonna keep it there. Contrast, no. Just trying stuff. Just poking around, poking things, seeing what happens, seeing how it reacts. Does it make a noise? Does it scream? Does it say, hey, that's not a place you should poke me? I feel threatened. And that's when you know you're in the right spot. That was really dark. Depending on where you want to take. Okay, we're gonna leave that there. We're good. We're in a good spot. I'm gonna just make sure the cropping feels all right. I'm gonna push in the. There we go, something like that. I don't like this little bit right there. See down by the light pole, or whatever that beam is shooting up. And there's a little bit of a pocket right there that makes me want to cry inside. So I'm gonna pull that in a little bit. Edges, edges, edges. Just if you ever want to know what the James method is, think of the Gucci Gang song. Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang. Edges, edges, edges. That's it. So this flag gets perfect, right? This flag is right where it needs to be. Just coming in a pleasing fashion. No weird space behind the flag on the left side. Looks quite nice. And but that creates a problem right here. So I need to pull it in a little bit more. Little bit more. I rarely come across a photo where I just cannot resolve the cropping issue, which is an interesting thing because you think you would, right? You think all the complexity in the world, all the different elements poking in vertically and diagonally and obtrusively, all the unpleasing places in the world, all the strange, unusual coffee. But you can find a way almost every time. Crop it in just a hair more. That looks good. I think we're in good shape. Yep, we're good. Okay. Guys, thank you so much for coming along with me on this freeform journey of editing and joyful exploration of photo ethics and technical know-hows. I hope you have a lovely day. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.